Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new SkillCapped guide. I'm Carnage and today I'm going to teach you how to stop dying in Valorant. We're going to go over the 3 pillars of staying alive in Valorant. These 3 base areas of knowledge will help you learn why you keep dying and teach you exactly how to change it so that you can stay alive. If you find this video helpful, consider subscribing so that you can experience the SkillCapped difference every single day. To start, I think it is important to realize that I'm going to be talking about all of these points with the intent of teaching you how to stay alive. Remember though, staying alive is going to have many more benefits for you, including getting more kills, being a better team player, and even increasing your rank faster. Now, without any further ado, let's talk about our first pillar of staying alive, and that is positioning. Positioning is one of the key mechanics in Valorant that many players do not put enough thought into. There are a couple of different kinds of positioning that can be useful, so let's start by talking about the best way to position yourself effectively. The best way to do this is by playing angles that have re-peak potential. You might be asking what this means exactly. Well, you should play an angle that allows you the opportunity to peek the enemies a second time. A great example of this is on Haven C site. I could play a corner just like this, and odds are I will get 1 kill. This could work, but to actually stay alive and have the opportunity to multi-kill, you need to play a better position. Like I mentioned earlier, we want to put ourselves in a position that allows us to re-peek the enemies. To show this, let's stay on Haven C site. Earlier, we looked at that one corner, which would probably get you 1 kill. But instead, let's look at a better angle to play, which would be right here behind this box. If you play this angle, you can get 1 kill and then fall off. Now, you are safe and you can decide what to do next. You can re-peek them, hold a new angle, or you can even fall off all the way to CT. Playing in a position like this is infinitely better than the first corner that we looked at. While you play, look for positions like this that allow you multiple options after you contact the enemies. Another important part of positioning that we need to focus on is where you're rotating to during different situations. It may not seem like it, but your rotations will impact your positioning a lot. Depending on how quickly or slowly you rotate will depend on where you're able to go. This is especially important when playing on defense. A common mistake that I see from players is that they will only worry about their positioning while they're holding a site. This is one of the most common ways you will get killed. So, instead of mindlessly rotating to the opposite site, try to think about where the enemies could be and where you should position yourself to counter them. This is a more difficult technique to illustrate because there are billions of different scenarios that you could be placed in. So, the best way to improve at this is by consciously thinking about what positions you would play if you were in the enemy's exact situation. And finally, with positioning, I want to talk about how to position yourself to not only help you stay alive and get kills, but to also help out your teammates. There are a couple of different ways to position yourself to help teammates, and one of the most common ones is holding a crossfire. All holding a crossfire means is you and a teammate are both holding a similar, if not same angle, so that if someone comes through, you're able to guarantee a kill. This works so well because the enemy is going to have a very tough time focusing on both of you. This is one of the best and most common ways that you can position yourself with a teammate to not only secure kills, but also put your team at an advantage. And then finally, the other way to position yourself to help teammates is going to be help them rotate by holding certain angles. Split A site is a great spot to show this. Simply sitting in heaven and holding this very helpful angle will be extremely useful to rotating teammates because now they can safely rotate through CT and even come through vents. Remember, you have 4 other teammates that all need to get to site and help out, even if you are the only one currently at that site. Try to keep an eye on your map so that you can keep track of where all of your teammates are and you can play with them instead of playing alone. Now, onto the second pillar of staying alive in Valorant. This is peeking, and it is going to directly benefit you if you can master positioning first. Remember earlier when we were talking about positioning, I told you to play in areas that have re-peak potential. Well, I'm going to show you exactly how you can re-peek these angles to capitalize on your good positioning. First, we're going to simply go over jiggle peeking and explain how and when it could be helpful to you. We first need to know exactly how to jiggle peek. Well, this method is done by strafing using A and D quickly while near a corner or angle. You want to press A or D to peek out, and then immediately press the opposite button to fall back to safety. This is all done very quickly and will allow you to check and see if any enemies are in the area without putting yourself in too much danger. So while playing certain angles, you can easily jiggle peek out and check to see if any enemies are pushing, all while staying relatively safe. It is important to remember that as you move up in the ranks, players will start to closely watch these angles that you're peeking, and this makes jiggle peeking very dangerous sometimes. In this case, you can actually use a different type of peek. This is the bunny hop jiggle peek. This is slightly more advanced but also has some different benefits. You can pull this off by jumping towards the area you want to peek, but counter strafe the opposite direction while in midair. That way the enemies have a very difficult time hitting you. A lot of times while doing this, you won't be able to see the enemies very clearly because you are peeking so fast. So the best way to get accurate info is by looking at your minimap while you perform this peek. Anyone that you see will pop up on the map even if it was too fast for the human eye to comprehend. This peek is also super useful against operators. Someone is using the sniper rifle to hold an angle, you can bunny hop jiggle peek them, and then after you bait out the shot, you can peek out again and get a free kill. Remember, you need to peek quickly after this so that they don't have the chance to snipe you with another shot. And our final method of peeking is going to be walk peeking. This is probably the most dangerous and most situational way to peek angles. Walk peeking is simply holding shift to walk while you're peeking angles. The only benefit to this type of movement is the level of stealth it brings to play. The enemy won't know that you're in this area, which can be very helpful to you and your team. The reason this is so dangerous though is because of how slowly you walk. While walking, if an enemy is looking at you, they will see your shoulder before you can see them. This gives them around a 100 millisecond advantage on you, which could easily lead to your death. And finally, I want to go over one type of peek that you never want to use. This is crouch peeking. This is another pretty self-explanatory method that works well in other competitive FPS games, such as Counter-Strike, but it is not as effective in Valorant. If you come from a game like Counter-Strike, you know that crouch peeking is somewhat common, especially among oppers. This is because it keeps you fairly accurate while you're still able to move. Well, in Valorant, this method ends in death almost every time due to the slow movement speed. Crouching around an angle gives the enemy an enormous advantage over you that is almost impossible to recover from. Keep this in mind if you're ever trying to stealthily move around and maybe even while you hold an angle. Our third and final pillar of success when it comes to surviving in Valorant is going to be capitalizing. This can mean anything from capitalizing on enemy mistakes to even capitalizing on good things that you and your team have done. This is the most difficult pillar to master, and it is also the most difficult to teach. To start, let's talk about what capitalizing actually means in this sense. Well, first off, in the most basic form, capitalizing is putting you and your team in a better position than you previously were, because of some circumstance or event that has probably happened. This is a very loose definition because realistically you can capitalize on almost anything that happens during the game, and it starts in the agent selection menu. Try to capitalize on your teammates' agent picks by picking a good agent fit for your team. This could even mean filling a role you aren't used to, or even just communicating with your team on the game plan for this match. Then, as you load into the game, check out the enemy team's agent composition. Is there something they're lacking that you can take advantage and capitalize off of? Maybe they're missing an agent that can smoke off angles, or maybe they don't have a cypher to solo hold a site. Whatever it is, try to capitalize on the minor weaknesses and exploit it in the best way possible. Another great example of capitalizing is economically. This is especially important on the second round. If you win pistol round, you then can capitalize on your earlier success by coming into the next round with more powerful weapons. This last pillar is less of a specific tip and more of a mindset that will allow you to look at every situation in a way that you can take advantage of. Simply put, look at every small detail within the game and think to yourself, how can I capitalize on this event? Again, there are millions of different situations that are possible, so I'm not going to go over all of them. but use this mindset to supplement your positioning and peeking. And finally, help your teammates with calling out things that they're not noticing. This mindset is only helpful if you can coordinate with your team to also adopt it. Additionally, don't get caught up in thinking about what the enemy team is doing all the time, especially if you're in a losing situation. Look within your own team and see what the opponents are capitalizing on within your team. Knowing what you're doing poorly can be just as useful, if not more useful, than knowing what the other team is doing poorly. Alright, that is going to wrap up this video. We went over the 3 pillars of success when it comes to staying alive and picking up some more kills in Valorant. We talked about positioning, peeking, and capitalizing after all of that. Which pillar do you think you need to work on the most? Let me know in the comment section down below, and while you're down there, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you never miss a SkillCapped upload. Hopefully you learned something from this video and now you can go practice it on your own. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you very much for watching through this entire video. This has been Carnage, and good luck, good half, and good game.